I know you don't take on 12-year-olds, but Chaim is falling more and more into anger, opposition, becoming verbally aggressive. He's suspended from school for bad behavior, and they're threatening to expel him if we can't get him help. He refuses to go to therapy. He will not go for psych testing. He won't speak to a psychiatrist. He's wishing everyone dead, and he says, I want to break their limbs and tear their eyes out. This boy just a few years ago was so sweet and yummy and delicious, we never saw this coming. He doesn't want to give in to the teachers and give them satisfaction of listening to them. He wishes he was never born. He doesn't want to live in this house, but he actually doesn't want to live at all. He keeps saying, I wish I was dead. I don't want to make the same mistakes I made with my older daughter. We desperately need help. Let's think about how this started 30 years ago. Kids off the derech were 18, 19, 20, smoking on Shabbos, shooting pool, drinking beer, smoking a little weed, and it got worse and worse and worse, and it spiraled into terrible drugs, into so many overdoses, into so many suicides, Rahmanu Litzlan, more and more every month as this dark gullus gets darker and darker, and then the age dropped to 16, then the age dropped to 15, and the age dropped to 14, 13. We saw a kid smoking on Shabbos 2 weeks before was his bar mitzvah, and he was there with his white shirt and his tzitzis out and his hat. He doesn't even have a hair thinking about growing on his mustache area, on his upper lip, and he's smoking. It's not even enjoyable. Drinking is not enjoyable at that age. Breaking Shabbos, watching movies, locking themselves in the bathroom for hours, wanting to die, wanting to kill. I mean, Rebbeinu Shalom, it went down to 13, went down to 12. I got a call of a 10-year-old. They're acting like teenagers. And how could you help someone like this? So what did we do when you look back at 30 years? We lost, I don't know, thousands and thousands of kids by listening to the advice that you have to force them. And if they won't go ahead, then you got to rules and consequences and boundaries because you're going to spoil them otherwise. And we lost, what, maybe 10,000, 15,000 kids? Either to death, to overdose, or just lost them and they're out there and they felt abandoned and they didn't get better from this. No, they're going to hit rock bottom. We're going to use the same failed method on the next thing, on the next kids, 12, 11, 10, 9. Someone who says, I want to die, stop. Just freeze. Yeah, go to Disney World. People don't want to kill themselves in Disney World. She'll be able to make up the schoolwork that they missed this year. If they had cancer, God forbid, they might be better off. Everybody would say, don't go, it's fine. Uncle Maishi will come, and everybody will come and sing for them, and for the parents, and bake food for them. And what about the year or two? Okay, when they're healthy, we'll deal with it. And over here, the advice, again, the same advice that they got from therapists again and again. Well, they have to have boundaries, otherwise they're going to fall apart. They're sick. They have an emotional fever of 107. Once someone says, I want to die, no, they're just manipulating you. Really? A kid who says, I want to die in order to manipulate you is either a really sick puppy or in a lot of pain. A normal happy kid, a normal kid doesn't know to say those words, cannot say those words. I want to break everyone's limbs and tear their eyes. Something is very wrong with this kid. And you will never find out what that is if he doesn't trust you, parents, more than anyone else in the world. And if you keep on dragging him against his will and he sits there, what do you want from the psychiatrist? What do you want from the therapist? What are they going to evaluate him? ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. And they'll start giving him medication. And he'll either take it, or he won't take it, or he'll fake it. And halavai. If you can figure out a way to fix this, do it. But never turn the parents against the kid. Never. A professional that says, I can't handle this, so I'm going to empower you parents to break the kid. Don't let him and do it and lock him and wake him up in the morning and fight. And all of a sudden you have to become combat soldiers because that's the advice of the professionals. If you can't help my kid, okay. First of all, really good professionals. that are not doing it just with their training, but they have the heart, they can win over a kid. They can win over a kid. They could say, I know that you don't want to be here. We're not doing therapy. We're nothing. I don't want to be here either. But, this is the story, and let's just play a game. And you can buy a young kid a gift, easier to win over. And let's just chill. Because you're not going to get a proper evaluation. You're not going to do therapy. You're not going to know what you're dealing with. So just to take out that stamp and start stamping. Medication. Medication doesn't heal trauma. And it's almost always trauma. Or let's say it's less than almost always, which I can't understand because it's almost always trauma. But let's say it's 50-50. So how do you give medication when it could be that? Or let's say it's 80-20. It's usually trauma. So these kids are not falling apart because sudden mental illness syndrome that makes them animals, and then you have to give them medicine to numb their brain. So okay, you could try it, and if they're willing to, great. But let's not make the same mistakes that we made on 16, 15, 14 with the next generation of kids that are too young to even have taivas, and you can't even call them a Baal taiva. It's such a stupid mistake that people who don't understand and never saved anybody, the Rishoyim, the Bali taiva. Okay, so when they were 18 and 17 and 16, the people living with them saw it's not true. But you're going to call a 10-year-old a Baal taiva? You're going to call a 12-year-old a Baal taiva? They're Baal taiva? They're Russia? You kidding me? It's our fault because we didn't bring Mashiach. If we brought Mashiach, every dar that it wasn't built, Beis HaMikdash is not built, it's Ke'ilu Nechrav, the Galus is getting worse and worse and worse. But what do you want on this kid? So we should do nothing? I think that is the number one response. And after 30 seconds, you realize it's the absolute dumbest possible thing you could say. If you're not going to do something that you know will help your child, do nothing. Of course. You see a guy gets hit by a car and he's lying out in the street in a pool of blood, sewage, dirt, and you say, let me go pick him up. Natural instinct. Natural instinct to do that, right? And what does everybody say? No. You could paralyze him forever. Don't touch him. So you should do nothing? The other choice was paralyzing him forever. Yes, you should do nothing. You can do a lot of things while doing nothing. You parents who are doing nothing are busy day and night doing nothing. You can go over to him and say, and hold his hand and say, I'm with you, and you can stay with me, and you can get Hatzalah there, you can get him a drink. There are things you can do without risking paralysis. So yeah, if you don't know how to make your kid better, if you do the wrong thing, you will pay a heavy price. And this parent says, I don't want to make the same mistakes I made with my older daughter. Because we listened to that. And then not only this kid was so stabbed by an invisible knife that they became this, the advice of the professional world caused their older sister to also feel that my parents don't like me. An additional trauma, probably bigger than anything else, ripping them apart. So she became a drug addict. So she went to the streets. So she lost years of her life. Why? Why does parenting a child who is suffering clearly include causing more pain to the child? Why? Do nothing. But there's so much you can do when you do nothing, because then you could be their friend and you could stay home with them. We do it naturally when they have 104 fever. You get them ice cream and you sit and you take them out and you watch things with them and you have fun and you lift their spirits and you get them, first of all, a bigger chance that maybe they'll decide to speak to someone, or a bigger chance that they'll open up to you and tell you what happened to them. Rabbeinu Shalom, so many people told me that they were molested as children, but they don't tell their parents because they feel that parents aren't going to believe them, or the parents are my enemy. While you're against them, they can't share with you. And they don't share with you after being nice to them for a day or a week or a month or a year. It's a long time. But if you see symptoms of insanity and crazy pain, stop. And don't do anything to hurt my child. It's my child. I'm not going to hurt them. No. Unless Moshe Rabbeinu and a team of top people say that they have a high success rate, right? Okay. But I've seen the destruction. I'm on the other side. We had a family that was here. They had 3 kids that went through the spiral. Unfortunately, as it almost always is, it was a relative in the family that molested all 3 of them years before. And one of them was on drugs, and one of them was acting out, and they all dropped out of school, and they're all not from, and one of them was cutting themselves. They each reacted in a different way, different ages, stages. And then kid number 4 started. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to, with all this stuff. And they said, we did the mainstream way, and we shechted basically through the mainstream. We made things worse, clearly, with 1, 2, and 3. We're not doing it on 4. So what did they do? So they were doing TP for 2 years to undo the damage, and they have an amazing relationship, and they're seeing healing, light in the eyes of their children who they saw darkness and death. The one who was doing drugs is clean. The one who was cutting is clean from cutting. And the one who was, they had eating disorder also. They're doing great. They're doing great. And they said, we're not going back to the beginning, to schlepping the kid in for help. Let's just do this. I said, I'm not guiding you because I don't have experience. And honestly, if anybody says they do have experience with this, they're lying because this didn't exist. I said, but you have experience as parents. So it's your choice. You are TP experts. These are top black belt TP people, not just we come and we forget about doing stuff and we never read the manual and we don't know what we're doing, and they're doing it full because they had to, because so much of their family was at risk, and they're so successful and they're so great. And they're doing it. And they said, we're making this decision. Why would we do this T-pull, this treatment method again on a kid number 4, which we saw didn't help and it made things worse, and we almost lost our kids. And this kid will never be a rebel because his parents, from the first minute, are not causing him any pain. So he may not go to school just like the other ones, but he's not a rebel. Because mom and dad said, if you don't want to go to school, see, they know he's in pain, right? If you don't want to go to school, I trust you. Oh, but he's going to take advantage of you. So yeah, he might take advantage. First of all, I'm a big believer that that's not true. When they're healthy, they'll be fine. But on that thing, so therefore, you should push him to go to school, but then look what happens. He has nobody that trusts me, nobody that understands me. And if you push him on a day where he wasn't taking advantage of you, you're hurting him. You're murdering him. You're ripping out his support system. I'd much rather wait a few years that he manipulates you, so to speak, and takes advantage because you give him ice cream when he doesn't go to school, and deal with the consequences of that when he gets out of this I want to die thing. And when he gets out of this I hate the world thing. And when he gets out of this whole negativity that you can't do anything in school anyway. There's absolutely nothing you can learn in school in this situation, and they're throwing him out anyway. So their choice is schlep him into a psychiatrist, get the wrong diagnosis, not the psychiatrist's fault. They're not a Navi. They just tell you what they see. Defiant, broken, into depression, anxiety, OCD, ODD. And what do you want from the guy? He's telling you what it looks like. I agree, that's what it looks like. It's also what childhood abuse and trauma looks like. And they should know that, and they should be able to say, I don't really know. But again, I'm not against them. I send more people to therapy at the appropriate times than any regular person. I'm not a company. I'm not an organization. Send people to therapy all the time when it's the right time. But what do we want from these therapists? But the therapist should just say, I don't know. I really don't know. There's no x-ray I can take. I see what you see. I don't know. If you'll take this medicine, maybe we should try. Sometimes the kids take medicine and they get much worse because one of the side effects of some of these medicines is depression. What else? Suicidal thoughts. So you take medicine for being depressed and suicidal, and one of the side effects is depression and suicidal thoughts. And I don't blame them. They have no choice. You got to try to help the kid. But how many times does a kid not even need that, and then it makes them worse, and then they say, I can't take this. And so what would happen if we didn't make the same mistakes and have to lose 10,000, 10, 11, 12-year-olds to this fake thing that if you're going to take advantage, they're going to take advantage of you, and they're always never going to do it, and never going to be anything. And we just didn't hurt them until they're able to be happy. And we're able to plug them with the love of mom and dad because they're clearly sick, like we would for any physical illness that had no cure. We wouldn't turn on them for a second. Physical illness, doctor says, sorry, no cure. We don't know life expectancy, 3, 4, 5 years, maybe more, we don't know. And the kid says, I'm not going to school. Oh, maybe he's taking advantage of you. Maybe he's don't let him. Make a deal with him. Make a check. I don't mind doing all that stuff, but know what you're dealing with and don't hurt your child. And these symptoms is not normal. I don't want to go to school because I'm tired. I'm having trouble falling asleep. I don't go to sleep on time because I'm lazy. Yeah, on a young kid, you make boxes and you give ice cream and you make charts and you do every trick in the book. But I want to break people's limbs and tear their eyes out? Stop. I want to die? Stop. You go see a professional who should be able to tell you the difference if this is normal kid stuff, which I don't think it is, or it's out of the realm of normal. And don't be a part of their pain. It's so much easier to make a little kid happy. There's no downside to it. But time will tell. And I'm saying I don't know. And that's why I won't take on the cases. But they don't know either. So I think that if you're not sure what to do, look at all the stories of people who made mistakes this way and made mistakes this way. Oh, they'll be spoiled. Okay, but if they're alive and they're not a drug addict and they're not, hurting people on the streets and they have love of mom and dad and they become better and they're spoiled, I think one more spoiled Jew in the world is something I can live with, as opposed to what if we're wrong the other way and we have one more drug addict in the world, one more suicidal kid in the world, one more street kid in the world who feels that while I was going through this like migraines, call it that, everybody turned on me and thought I'm manipulating them. We don't know. Bidan l'kafschus. Do it. Find someone to guide you. Find someone else to describe things like this. And this family is going to say Be'ezus Hashem their kid because they're already TP trained and they already know what works and they already have good news on this kid. Is he in school? No. He doesn't say, I want to die. He doesn't hate. The language is going down. What'd you do? Well, you know what we did? We went to Disney World. And then 2 weeks later, we said we're going on another trip. And they went on a bunch of trips and made life absolutely wonderful and didn't make him go to sleep or get up or do anything. And what did we accomplish? Well, he's probably not going to end up in the psych ward. And he's probably not going to end up in juvie for stealing stuff and doing whatever. And for me, for right now, until someone has a better solution, I'm okay with that. That other family with the 3 kids, their kid is doing great. It's doing great.